Hey guys, it's Marta, welcome. Today we'll talk about ornamental grasses. I planted a lot of them last year in November in my front border. Today I will show you how they look like at the end of the season, how they flower, how they survive the season, and I hope you will join me. Let's go. For those of you who are seeing this border for the first time, this is a border I planted last November, so it's not even 1 year old. They were all tiny plants that were planted in the middle of November. The only older plants are Pennisetum and catmint that are just at the end of this border. They've been growing here for several years and I left them to see how they will work with this border. When I planted this border, my main idea was to test a lot of ornamental grasses and perennials and to see how they will work here in this space. This is a space outside of my garden. I wanted plants that will not mind moments of drought and the plants that will be in not so cozy environment. I wanted to see how it will work, and this garden was supposed to be a test for me for the time when I'm older, to have a garden that does not need that much maintenance, that will grow even if I'm not here, and it will look perfect. So today this is what I will talk about. How did it work, and if it worked at all. I wanted to start with this plant. This is the Miscanthus sepitosa, so the common name is tufted hairgrass. This was a grass I was expecting most of, but I've never seen it with my own eyes. I was really hoping it will be what I expected it to be, and it was even more. This grass looked perfectly through the season as just a bunch of leaves, but it was beautiful, very dense in the fall, in the winter, and then from spring it really looked very healthy, very green, and very early in the summer we got those beautiful feathery things that just look so beautiful in the border. I was really afraid that these will collapse during the rain, during the storm, because that was my experience with Miscanthus, for example. But they are tough, really tough. We had several storms, really heavy ones, and nothing happened. They look beautiful. The flow of this border is dictated by those plants. We have 60 of them, so that is a huge amount. And when the wind blows, like you will get a beautiful flow. Sometimes we think of borders as the flowers, as the structure, but also the flow with the wind is very important, because this gives you this really calm feeling. I really love them. This variety is called Goldschleier. You can also find this tufted hairgrass called Goldtau. I think this is the most commonly used in the borders, but I really love this one and I want more in my garden. This is another ornamental grass that I was really curious about. It's called Calamagrostis brachytricha, but the common name I think is Foxdale grass. I was really loving the pictures that I saw of these beautiful tails. They were quite thick in the pictures, quite white. This is definitely flowering later than this grass, but I'm really watching it closely. I think this grass will have its full potential when it will be older, but still, I love how it looks like. It pairs perfectly with Verbena bonariensis, one of my favorite plants in the borders. It is very thick, doesn't need any staking. You have those purple flowers for such a long time. Verbena bonariensis is one of my favorite plants because it blooms for such a long time. Sometimes it can start in July for us if you have the plants that survive through the winter. For freshly sown plants, you will get the flowering in August, I would say. And then you have a continuous splashes of color in your borders. I really love using that plant. You will also find the shorter versions of this verbena that are also, I like pairing them because this one is tall, it goes so well with the grasses, like a statement plant in the middle of the border, but the shorter ones are also beautiful splashes of color with something lower, and I really like using them too. So you will find a lot of verbenas in this border too, and everywhere in my garden, but remember that it really self-seeds easily. You will find thousands, like not even millions of plants in your garden if the conditions are right. Let's go to the part of this border that is just grasses. And I'm thinking if I really think I need to add something with color. I was observing this part and I was really thinking what I can change. This is what I love about creating borders. They are not finished. You have an idea, you expect something, but I'm always open. I am always curious what will happen. I want to observe if the plants like the space, if this what I've created has a nice flow to it, a good shape, a good composition balance. I always like to observe, and I think that this road to success is the most fascinating one. You look at how things work, what you can learn from it, then you tweak something and it is even better then. So this is what I really love. And with this part, I know that I need to add a bit of color because a lot of textures is happening here. You can see all the different grasses here. You can see all those different like beautiful parts of the grasses, and I'm lacking something and I will change that next year. I wanted to start with this plant. This is Miscanthus memory. I do not like Miscanthus grasses. I will just say that I've started with them in my garden and I've had different results. Something was off for me, especially with Zebrinus. I really do not like this grass, but I really like Miscanthus somewhere else, not in my garden. When they are tall, they are en masse, they look beautiful with those beautiful feathery things. But here I wasn't sure if I need them. I said, okay, I will try with 3 of the memory Miscanthus because they are the most popular Miscanthus ever. And I really like them because I think they wanted to tell me, hey, we can look fine, Marta. Whenever I look through my kitchen window, that is the only thing I see from this border because everything is shorter than the fence. And this Miscanthus is like a very feathery cloud of white that I see from my window, and it always makes me happy. So I thought this is a message from my plants to me that I can like Miscanthus somehow. And I will take some of the plants that are at the back of the border, so catmint and the other Pennisetum grass, and I will put some of the Miscanthus, especially here in this part, and I think it will work fine with those brachytrichas and this one. I think it will work fine, but I will need some color also somewhere in the middle. I have some other low-growing ornamental grasses here. We have Hakonecloa. This is Green Hills. I love Hakonecloa. My favorite is Aureola, but I tried growing different ones. I did not see Aureola here because it's very lime. It would be too, I don't know, too striking for this border. And Green Hills is more green, as you can hear from the name, but Hakonecloa needs time to show its full potential, but it grew very well this year. I was not expecting as much growth here. The other plant is Carex. It's called Frosted Curls. It looks very similar to stipa, but has more. It will spread on the ground more than stipa. I was not sure if I will like this plant because in moments it looks like it's dried. I wasn't sure, but sometimes when I see a plant that I'm curious about, it gives me some mixed feelings. I think it's interesting. It's not boring for me. So I said, okay, we'll try with few of them, and I'm really liking them, especially now. In the autumn, they look very well, and I think they are a perfect ground cover. They are a bit grayish, look a bit dry, but I'm liking them. Now they look more like frosted curls, and in the summer they look more like dried curls. So I think the moisture now is better in the ground. They are bigger, but I will leave them here. When I started thinking about this border, the first plant I knew that will be here was Stipa tenuissima. This is my favorite grass of all time. The only disadvantage of this grass is that it does not overwinter well in Poland. It does, but not always. When we have a wet winter and then we'll have a spring that has minus temperatures, plus temperatures, a lot of like freezing, not freezing, freezing, not freezing, then I can be sure that we might lose some of our stipas. So I try to plant them in an area that is drained well, but I know that this is the disadvantage. But if I can get above that, this is my favorite grass because it looks so beautiful. It is so fresh in the spring, so green, so gentle, and it's just beautiful. But then in the summer you get those seed heads, you get this beautiful, it looks like the hair is so shaggy, and I absolutely love it. If only it overwintered well, it would be the most perfect grass I've ever seen. The grass that you see in front of this border is Sessleria grass. I've shown you in a video in the spring when I was planting them. They were not available in November when I was planting the whole border, so I waited for those. And I must say that planting them in the spring, some of them really suffered because of the lack of water we had. Then we installed the irrigation system for this border later in the season, but some of them struggled, some had problems with the lack of water. But I really love this grass. It is clump forming, low growing, very lime in color. I was surprised how early it started blooming for me, and I was really hoping for a lime front of the border, and that was an unexpected beautiful twist that it bloomed so early, and I got some structure, some movement in the border, and I was thinking I will get it later in the season, but I loved that it happened earlier. With Sessleria grass, you can read that this is an evergreen grass, and my friend that grows the grasses told me that you really need to clean this grass at the end of summer or beginning of autumn to have it as a beautiful clump of leaves for the winter, and it doesn't always look like that, so people are always disappointed that it can look dry, and I've seen that at the end of summer a lot of the clump started drying out, and I was just sometimes removing parts of it, and then you will get some fresh growth. So that's worth considering, but I did not cut too much because I really wanted to leave this for the winter, because in the winter I really want to see the structure of this border. Sometimes we look at plants in the winter as decaying matter, and I want to reframe this view that I had for many years of my garden. I want to see the plants, especially the stiff ones, as a structure, as an interesting part of the garden. The seed pods, the seed heads, the parts of the grasses that can be frosted, they can be covered with snow, they can also be interesting. But I want to see how it will look like in the winter, because sometimes we get a lot of snow and they can crush the plants and nothing will happen with the structure because everything will be smashed to the ground. And I know that and I expect it, but I really want to stay open to the view that I will see in the winter. Plus, when we have those seed heads of coneflowers, they will also feed the birds. So I did not cut anything from my coneflowers. I did prune back my cadmiums, my salvia, so I could get flashes of growth and new color. And that was fine because it's different with them. But with coneflowers, I did not deadhead. I left them as they were and I didn't touch anything. So we'll see how it goes in the winter. The last grass in this border, but not the least because it's one of my favorites, is Pennisetum. I think it's called fountain grass in English also, in the common name. These grasses I bought them like 18 years ago. I planted one in my garden, 3 of them, and then they grew bigger. I wanted something else in that border, so I dug them out, divided them and planted them here 15 years ago. And they've been growing here for 15 years and they are huge. They are like this. They are very difficult to remove, to divide them, but I will need to do it for some of those in the back. I will leave some of them, but not all of them. I left them in this border to see if they will work with this these other plants, and I will definitely leave this one because it always looks beautiful. It always bloomed, and this year they all bloomed, which I'm really happy about, because for some years we had this problem that they didn't, and I think the problem was that I had a lawn here and I was always putting the fertilizer on it, and probably they got more fertilizer for the lawn, which is, you can think this is a grass and this is a grass, but this grass you want to flower, and to flower you need less nitrogen and more potassium, and probably this is what happened because the lightning conditions were very similar. But coming back to the subject, I think I will leave it. I have this beautiful memory with Pennisetum. 7 years ago, it was exactly 7 years ago, I was going for my spine surgery and I was really afraid, like my panic attacks were getting really huge because I was afraid I will never feel my hands again, because that was the idea they gave me. If I don't have the operation, I will lose the feeling in my hands. And I remember going to the garden and I had this Pennisetum flowering, and I remember touching it, and I thought that we don't enjoy the touch, we don't think about it, we just have it and we use it, and that moment when you think that you will lose it forever is like an epiphany for you that this is important in life. So this is why the Pennisetum is one of my favorite grasses, because this plant told me what is important in life. Okay guys, please let me know in the comments if you have ornamental grasses in your garden. Do you have any favorites? Do you have any ones that you do not like? Do you have ones that you do not have any problems with and they grow like nothing is happening in the world? And maybe you've had problems with other varieties that you do not recommend for others. Please let us know in which zone you live in, what grasses you love, which ones are problematic for you, and let's hope that we change our experiences and somebody will be inspired and someone will know what to expect. And sometimes the bad things can also, it is good when we choose plants. So I'm really hoping for you today in the comments, and if you like today's video, please give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, hit that bell button to get notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.